Hey everybody. Oh boy, is it time to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Things are not good up in Toronto right now. Fans are very unhappy. I'm sure the players and management are very unhappy. Things are just not going well, and there's the calls for Mike Babcock's head are growing and growing, and now I think that there is a very, very real chance that Mike Babcock gets fired this season, especially if the struggles continue for Toronto. Now, before we fully get into the video, I just want to remind everyone to please hit that like button and give this video a thumbs up. Greatly helps out the channel. And if you're new, to please subscribe and follow along for all my hockey content this season. So, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have already played 22 games this season, which is pretty much more, or at least tied for the most in the league. Tied for the league leading games played. They are 9-9-4 to start this season. That's right, the Toronto Maple Leafs, a team that was expected to be a Stanley Cup contender this year, is a .500 hockey team right now. They've given up 77 goals on the season, which is the second worst goals against in the NHL. The only team who's given up more so far are the Detroit Red Wings, who are the last place team in the Eastern Conference. Things have gone really south recently for Toronto as they've lost 4 in a row. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10 games. I believe only one of those 3 wins came in regulation. The other 2 were in overtime. They're a terrible road team. They're 3-6 on the year on the road. And it's been extremely disappointing this season for Toronto. They are off to a really, really bad start. And the calls for Mike Babcock to be fired are getting louder and louder and getting stronger and stronger. And I know there are a lot of Leafs fans on this channel who have found this channel over the years because of the Bruins and Maple Leafs matchups in the playoffs. And the Leafs fans even on this channel are starting to really go at Mike Babcock. And I think now that there is a very, very real possibility that that Babcock doesn't make it to the end of this season. Now, going into this year, I thought Babcock would be fired if the Toronto Maple Leafs missed the playoffs, which I thought there was almost no chance of happening. But now, after looking at the start of this season, that's starting to become more and more of a potential possibility. Or if they lost in the first round of the playoffs again. Because this Toronto team, has never gotten past the first round. They do not have a playoff series win under Mike Babcock. And I thought this was going to be the year where either you guys make a run deep into the playoffs or Babcock is done. He's running out of chances. And but I thought that no matter what, either of those situations, Babcock would not be fired until the end of the season. That was my thought going into this year. Now, as Elliotte Friedman put it last night, after a brutal 6-1 loss to Pittsburgh, to a Sidney Crosby-less Pittsburgh team, brutal beatdown, Elliotte Friedman said it last night, all bets are off in Toronto. Babcock is now officially on the hot seat. There's a chance now that he does not make it this entire season, and that if things don't start to turn around here quickly for the Maple Leafs, Babcock could be out of a job. And honestly, I would not blame Toronto for firing Babcock because there's plenty of blame to go around here, but some of it definitely belongs on the coach. This team is not gritty. This team doesn't work hard. This team doesn't, battle. This team, there's no grit, there's no battle factor, there's no effort level from this Toronto team. They are trying to skate by on their enormous talent, and guess what? That's not how it works in the NHL. If there's a team with less talent but works harder, the team that outworks the other team is going to win most of the time, and that's what we're seeing this year. Toronto is not a hard-working team, and that goes on the coach. That is on the coach, and Babcock needs to find a way to get this team to play defense, get this team to grind along the wall, get this team to work in front of the net, because they don't do that right now. They're trying to get by on great talent and all these superstar players, but guess what? If those players don't put in the effort, it doesn't matter how good they are, they're not going to win. There are also, the defense, which was supposed to be improved this year, has not been at all. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the league. The defense still absolutely blows. Tyson Barrie, who I thought was going to be a good addition for this team, has been absolutely horrible. Cody Ceci is an absolute bum in his own end, absolutely useless in the defensive zone. And overall, this team's defense really isn't any better than it was last season. So defense continues to be an issue for the Maple Leafs. The backup goaltending is a huge problem. Michael Hutchinson started the season as the backup. He got waived because he's been terrible. They don't have another goaltender other than Freddie Anderson. There are plenty of issues in Toronto and plenty of blame to go around. I think Kyle Dubas, the GM, deserves a good amount of blame because he hasn't really fixed anything with this team. All he's done is overpay forwards and keep these big name guys around, but they're not winning you games. So what's really the point? Giving Tavares 11 million, giving Matthews over 11 million, giving Marner almost 11 million, giving William Nylander the money that he got. What's the point if they're not going to win you games? You still have one of the worst defenses in the entire league. You can't get a backup goaltender that can stop pucks, which is putting way too much pressure on Freddie Anderson. And your team continues to be very mediocre so far this season. And this, I can tell you right now, is a team that will once again, if they do make the playoffs, will lose in the first round. This team will lose in the first round. They do not have the battle factor. They do not have the grit. They don't have the physicality. They don't have what it takes to win in the postseason. They're not even winning right now in the regular season. So things are very, very bad in Toronto right now. And Babcock's job has got to be on the line here. I would be thinking about firing him soon if this continues. This team, with all that talent, all those star players, all that goal scoring, is 9-9-4. They're a 500 hockey team, 2 points out of the playoffs, but really more than that because they've played more games than anyone else. So, Tampa Bay's only 2 points behind them. They've played 5 less games. So really, if in reality, Tampa's basically ahead of them. Buffalo is ahead of them right now. That puts Ottawa and Detroit as the only teams in the Atlantic Division behind the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, given, taking the games in hand in effect with Tampa Bay. So that is absolutely unacceptable for a team with as much talent in the roster that the Toronto Maple Leafs have. However, the same issues continue to show up. The defense is not nearly good enough. There's no grit. There's no physicality. There's no battle factor. And that is going to continue to cost Toronto. And Babcock will not change his ways. Dubas will not change his ways. And they're going to keep losing until some changes are made, whether it's in the regular season or if they lose in the first round of the playoffs again. This team is going nowhere until they make a significant change in either philosophy or management or coaching personnel. And I think Babcock's seat is getting very, very hot right now. So things obviously are not going well for Toronto, losing 4 in a row, getting destroyed by the Pittsburgh Penguins last night. We'll see if they can somewhat turn this around and start getting things going in the right direction. But I think that the issues in Toronto are here to stay. There's no quick fix here. There's obviously a huge salary cap issue with how much they're paying their star forwards. There's no easy solution here, and I think that as this goes on and as this team continues to struggle and stay around 500, I think the chances get higher and higher that Babcock gets fired. And I know just from social media that the fans in Toronto are getting very, very restless. A lot of them are already calling for Babcock to be fired. And they are not happy with the way that this season has gone. And it might just be time for a change there in Toronto. I wouldn't be surprised if Babcock gets canned, honestly. I think we're heading in that direction. Unless there's a drastic turnaround here quickly, where maybe Toronto rips off 5 or 6 in a row. Maybe they can get themselves back, moved up in the standings and into a playoff position. But that seat under Mike Babcock's butt is getting a lot hotter as with each loss that comes along here. So, with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.